Hey guys, welcome back to the D Time Love Show. And today I've got a couple of interesting watches that have been sent to the channel by Earnshaw Watches. And they asked me if I was interested in reviewing a couple of their more affordable watches from the 300 to 500 pounds sterling range. And they've got a real wide selection of watches at this price point. But these were a couple of watches that are, well, they've got Japanese movements. There's no preference to the movement, but I believe it's not a Seiko NH35 movement. I believe it's a Citizen Miyota movement, but there is no reference to the particular movement. So I will chase up Earnshaw to clarify the type of movement that is inside. But before I go into the review about these particular watches, let's have a look what I'm wearing today. And I am sporting the Rolex Datejust 16014 with the white gold fluted bezel and a cool, very comfortable Jubilee bracelet. I love it, very cool. It is my birth year and one of my favorite watches in the collection, I have to say. But let's have a look at these watches. And first of all, let's have a look at the one in yellow gold. Now, let's go through this specification of this particular timepiece. Now, in terms of diameter, you're looking at 41 millimeters. In terms of case thickness, you're looking at 13.5 millimeters. Now, in terms of bandwidth, you're looking at 20 millimeters, and the leather band tapers down to 20 millimeters. Now, have a look at the back of this watch. You can see the Earnshaw logo on the clear case back, and there is some decoration on the rotor. Nothing special, nothing amazing, but at this price point, you're not really buying this type of watch for its movement. But what price does this watch come in at? It comes in at £350 sterling. Now, let's have a look at the dial. So you've got Arabic numerals, and at 6 o'clock, you've got an open heart. You can see the open flywheel there with the bridge. Very nicely done. And at 12 o'clock, you've got a 24-hour subdial. You've got applied Arabic numerals. Very nice indeed. And I love the font they've used where it says automatic at 9 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, you've got the Earnshaw logo. Overall, aesthetically, this watch is very reminiscent of pocket watches. That design with the Arabic numerals and the flared lugs really do appeal for me, because I really got into mechanical watches from a watch I inherited from my grandfather. And I inherited a gold pocket watch, and it's made by Tempo. And when I see, it had Arabic numerals like this, it was very nice indeed. And it had those breguet type hands that you can see on this particular timepiece. But I have to say the Arabic numerals, the way they've been applied with the black dial, really do contrast aesthetically very well indeed. Now, this watch itself comes with a mineral hardened sapphire coated crystal. So it's not a sapphire crystal, unfortunately. So that is one negative. It's not a screw down crown, but you can see the Earnshaw logo there. And there is a pusher there that I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of that pusher is, but I'm assuming it will have something to do with the 24-hour subdial there at 12 o'clock. Let's just get this in focus. But I have to say, it's very legible in design. The black and gold Arabic numerals do play very well. But I have to say, the minute and second hand, it can tend to get a little bit confusing. As you can see there below, when it does go over the open heart, the flywheel, you can see that ticking away there with the bridge. It does get a little bit confusing. It does tend to get lost in sight, the hour hand there, and it will probably be the same when you're looking at anything between 5 to 7 o'clock. It may be quite difficult, quite problematic in terms of visibility during that period of time, but that's a minor thing. Overall, aesthetically, a very good looking watch. Now, I have to give you heads up, Earnshaw, on your website, you mentioned that the bandwidth is 22 millimeters, tapers down to 20. it actually is 20 millimeters and tapers down to 18 millimeters, sorry. So yeah, that's something that may need to change on the website, guys. But overall, you know, what if I'm being critical, what I did notice, what I didn't like, look, Earnshaw, you've got a IP gold finished watch and you've provided a strap with a steel finish. Now, really does really ruin the overall look of the watch when you're wearing it on the wrist, because it looks like you've put a leather band on a watch that hasn't got the same color buckle to the case. So aesthetically, that is a no-go for me anyway. But, you know, I'll be honest with you, it's for this price point, really cool looking watch. You know, at affordable price like this, at £350, I don't think there are many watches out there from the more traditional watch brands that give you this aesthetic at this price point. There's no question mark. I always was a big fan of the Tissot Heritage. I think it was 1936 model. Bit of a reissue, reissue of their pocket watches that transition between pocket watch to the wristwatch, where they've got the flared lugs. I love that style, this classic looking design. And I guess that is the aspect of the design. But that watch comes in at around about £1,200-1,300. But you are getting a brand with more heritage, with a bit more pedigree and watchcraft making at that price point. But, you know, for an affordable watch, you're getting a micro brand, yes. But definitely you can't argue that this watch is not a good looking watch aesthetically if these types of designs appeal to you. If you're a vintage watch fan, it will definitely appeal to you. And I'm glad it's not 43, 44 millimeters and they've decided to go with 41 millimeters, which really does fit on the wrist reasonably well. And I'll do a wrist shot at the end of this video. Now let's take a closer look at the next watch that we have in hand, and we have the Earnshaw Longitude, and this one is slightly more expensive. It comes in at £420 sterling. But first of all, what can I say? Before I go into depth about my first impression, let's have a look at the specification of this particular timepiece. Now, in terms of diameter, you're looking at 42 millimeters. In terms of case thickness, you're looking at 14 millimeters, so a fairly thick watch, I have to say. In terms of the band width, the lug width here, you're looking at 22 millimeters, and it tapers down to 20. Now, looking at the dial, looking at 12 o'clock, you can see the moon and sun feature. And then if you look at the bottom at 6 o'clock, you've got that open heart and you've got that bridge ticking away. But at 9 o'clock, you've also got a second time zone with a minute and hour hand with those Roman numerals. And you can see it's actually skeletonized there at 2 and 4 o'clock. You can see that. And on top there, you've got a bridge with the Earnshaw logo. A lot of work has gone into this particular timepiece. And I have to say, if you're somebody that doesn't like a fussy dial, you might as well turn around now. This is definitely not the watch for you. Now let's have a look at the back here. So you've got a decorated rotor, and you've got the hemisphere lines there on the clear case back. It is 50 meters water resistant. I believe this is a Miyota movement that's been modified to basically fulfill the other sub-dial features as well. So it's a modified Miyota movement, I believe. But I have to say, it's 50 meters water resistant. I would never take this type of timepiece swimming. It's not a screw down crown, but it can take a little bit of rain and a little splash here and there for sure. In terms of the crystal, you're looking at a hardened mineral crystal with a sapphire coating. Very disappointing that it's not a sapphire crystal, but you know, I guess that's just to cut costs. And I love the onion crown. Very nice indeed, I have to say. Very impressive diamond style onion, whatever you call it in the watch world. Very very nice looking, I have to say. And it really, the color combination with the rose gold, with the white dial, textured dial, and the blue leather band, I have to say, really do look very intriguing, very interesting, very Jacob and Co. It really does look like an expensive timepiece. Now, I was wearing this watch into work to see people's first impressions, and they know that I do buy, you know, from entry level to half decent luxury watches. They just assume that I just purchased a watch for about 10, 15, 20k, you know. And for someone, you know, getting into the hobby that doesn't have a lot of money, you've got your Seiko SKX or an Orient Ray, for example, and you want something a bit flashy, something that not everybody will be comfortable wearing, to be honest with you. But if you want something a bit blingy, a bit sparkly, then this is definitely the watch for you. But I'm a real sucker for the sun and moon feature. It's not a moon phase watch or annual calendar, but it lets you know if it's AM or PM. And you've got basically the jewel, the other at 9 o'clock, the other time zone. But how does it actually work on this? So let's have a closer look how this actually. So let's pop up the crown. The crown actually controls all the other functions. There's no pushers or anything like that. So if you go clockwise, that's the usual, you know, adjusting the time. If you go anti-clockwise, if you look at the sub-dial at 9 o'clock with the Roman numerals, the other time zone, you can adjust the time that way. So when you go clockwise, it stays the same, and then you can adjust the time accordingly, which is very good. And you can see there below the open heart and the flywheel and the bridge, and you can see how that rotates when you adjust the time. And you can see it's slightly skeletonized as well with the applied indices. I can't see any loom on this whatsoever. So it is very much a dress watch. It's for smart wear. It's for wearing a suit, I would have thought. It's not very versatile indeed. But, you know, it's a cool enough watch. It's one of those watches you're either going to love it or you're absolutely going to hate it. You're going to dislike this watch with a passion. But there's got people on the other side that will think, damn, that's a very good looking watch indeed. You cannot please everybody. But let's get these watches on the wrist so we can see how they look on my wrist. Bear with me, guys. So let's get the Grand. This is the Grand, is it the Grand Legacy one? Fits on the wrist very well at 41 millimeters. Very nice indeed. And this one is slightly larger. Very nice. I'm not saying to you guys, buy the watches. This is just to give you guys, you know, what they look like potentially. They're cool enough watches. I'm not saying go and buy them, but you know, if you really compare them against other watches at that price point, yes, they're probably maybe slightly better quality, you could say, maybe slightly better movement, but aesthetically in terms of design, there's definitely nothing wrong. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the quality of these. Be honest with you, I was pleasantly surprised with the quality of these watches. They do feel like far more expensive watches, and they are using Japanese movements now, none of this Chinese stuff as well. Don't get me wrong, guys, we've got to be realistic, okay? When you're buying watches at this price point, whether you're buying a Seiko or a Bulova, a lot of the time the cases are made in Asia, in China, Hong Kong, wherever it may be. It could be, you know, it's going to be made in Asia at some point, and a lot of the time it's either assembled in Japan or in Switzerland, but on this occasion I believe these watches are assembled in Great Britain, the UK, so they probably get the cases made in, God knows, you know, somewhere in Asia, or they probably do assemble some of their watches over there, and these are one of the Japanese movement. I don't really know, to be honest with you, but to be honest with you, at this price point, you can't expect the world. But probably the most disappointing thing for me is I would have loved it to be sapphire crystal. They're not hacking, by the way, but believe me, there's some, you know, very luxury watches out there that are not hackable either, you know, but the demand, you know, for these types of watches to meet the criteria of the real watch enthusiast is getting better and better. And the good news is, for people that don't have a massive budget, that can't spend thousands of pounds, they can buy very good quality watches at very reasonable prices. Yes, it doesn't have the heritage, it doesn't have the pedigree, it's not a luxury brand, but they do take some true inspiration from brands like Breguet, for example, and those watches are extremely expensive. So you could say they're very much homage to some, watches out there that you can find on the luxury market. But, for me, they're definitely worth considering. They're very much an add-on watch and not a watch that you would build your collection on, but definitely an add-on watch that would definitely add a little bit of sparkle to your beta or affordable watch collection. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you are interested in these watches, be careful, because there are people that are selling them out there that have got the early versions that may have had like a Chinese movement or something like that. The new ones do have Japanese movements now, I've been told. But if you are interested, have a look in the description. You can get 15% off. It really does help the channel, and if you are interested, but make sure you do your research. I'm not forcing you to buy. I've just had the opportunity to review them and get a feel for them, and they're half decent watches, I have to say. So guys, please take care. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget that press that like button. Leave your comments below on your thoughts if these watches are of interest, and I'll see you in the next video.